Hi, this is Brendon from A Sense of Gravity, and today I'm talking to Mark and Ivan from Painted in Exile for Heavy Blog is Heavy here at NAMM 2016. How are you guys doing?
So far, so good, man.
Doing well, man. Digging it.
Yeah, so what brings you both here to NAMM this year? I mean,
You gotta go first.
It's always NAMM's always a party. I always look forward to it every year. I'm doing a bunch of stuff for my magazine, Guitar Messenger, and this year it was cool too, connecting with some folks about Painted in Exile and just letting everyone know that things are moving forward and what our plans are. So, but mostly it's really just, you get to see some friends that you only see once a year because everybody's all over the place or on tour or just living far away. So it's one big party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the same for me too. I mean, this is my first time coming actually, so it's been it's like years in the making. I was like wanting to come since I was like 12, so I'm finally made it. And it's funny because like I was saying, it's like a big party. It's like a huge like connection thing, like networking thing, and you meet people that like you've been known on the internet for so long, but you've never met them in person. And it's you just like you see them from across the hall, and it's like, dude, and that's it. You just like hug it out, and that's it. No words needed, and it's cool, man. Just coming out here to kind of check it out and maybe look at some new gear and possible endorsements, and scope it out.
Yeah, so I hear you guys just recently did a first show in a while, and it sounds like it went really well. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it was first show in almost 5 years to the day, actually. And it was our comeback show, I guess, if you want to say. Yeah, it was sold out. It was crazy. It was unbelievable. Just it was a home show, so it was really welcoming, and it was just, I don't know, it was really surreal, to not be on stage for 5 years. I mean, we've all played on stage and done our own things in between, but to play in like a metal setting and play like your music that you put so much into and you put your like entire life into, and like all you want to do is get it out there, and that's your career, to finally get it out there after that many like years is just like it was crazy. We walked on stage and like it was like nothing ever happened, like it was like yesterday, and it was surreal to actually share the stage with like, this was actually the first time that we all shared the stage together because we got some new members and stuff, so it was amazing. It was amazing to just come back and just be so welcomed and to know that there's still some potential for us to make this happen.
That's fantastic. Was this your first show with Painted in Exile?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the one.
That's great. Yeah. So how's it feel? I mean, you guys have obviously been playing together. But how's it feel to be like a part of the group and finally being on stage since you've been with them for a while?
This just felt like a big release because I've been in the band for several years, but
exactly.
We've had all this stuff going on in the background that
nobody knows about.
Right. So we had all this material that we're working on and countless rehearsals and jam sessions and writing sessions. So to finally bring that to life and enjoy the fruits of that labor was, it's addicting. I want to do a lot more of it.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing because so many people like thought we were dead. They're like, oh, like I mean, we did say comeback show, but like, everyone was like, oh, I'm so glad you guys are back, and I'm like, yeah, we are back, but it's like so many people think nothing happened for 5 years, and in reality, like, it was the 4 or 5 toughest years this band's ever been through. Like constantly writing still and finding members and just traveling and moving across the country and for the band and doing all this stuff. Like we were always active, always trying to find the right people for the band, and him being one of them, and it was a constant thing. We never stopped. We were never dead, and it's just the public eye didn't see much, so.
Yeah, I found it's really hard as a band where you put so much time into writing and really perfecting like a certain sound, and trying to keep your audience in the loop the whole time is quite the challenge, and it's because that takes a lot of effort too.
It's a full-time job, especially with the internet now, like they make it harder. I mean, Facebook in general, and to be specific, it makes it harder to reach, like what used to be so easy. We have a measly like 9,000 fans on Facebook now, but back in the day before things kind of like started to slow down, that was like awesome, like that was a bit like we felt like we accomplished something. And now it's like unless you have 20,000 likes, you're nothing, it's like, so now we have to kind of rebuild that and do that whole thing over again kind of. But it's getting it out there is kind of like it's become a full-time job. You see guys like plenty of bands now who are doing it without a label, without management, and without all that stuff, and it's literally a full-time job. You know, being a musician in a band is not just writing and you know, making CDs and writing songs and doing records. It's like you do the social media, you handle the management, you handle the booking, the contacts, the agency. It's all that stuff. You know, it's a full-time job in itself. So things have changed for sure.
So, speaking of new material, you guys have an upcoming new release you've been working on. Is this going to be, as far as I know, you don't have a, like, are your other albums considered like full length, or they're just super long EPs?
Only in terms of total length, but
Yeah.
not in track listing.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
I think one of our EPs is longer than another band's who shall remain nameless. They're full length. So I guess that'll, you know, I guess it kind of counts. But yeah, we had 2 EPs before this, technically speaking, starting from 2007 and then 2009, and then we put out a single in 2014. And then yeah, we have this record coming up. We are going to the studio in March with Jamie King, who did Between the Buried and Me and The Contortionist and Wretched and Scale of Summit and countless bands. And we're really stoked on that. And we've been writing the whole time, all these 4 years. It never really stopped. You know, we just kept writing, and you know, some stuff is gonna make the record, some stuff isn't. We've kind of just been on a huge time crunch because it's been like, all right, we booked the show, and now we have this going on, and now we're at NAMM, and it's like we got to like squeeze it all in and figure out how we're going to do it. But you know, we're making it happen. I mean, yeah, I think just it's like kind of surreal, but we're going back into the studio finally, and for like officially doing a real record. It's kind of crazy.
What can fans expect as far as similarities to past material or differences? You guys are known for incorporating a lot of influences. Are you trying out some new things that people haven't heard yet, or?
I guess as far as incorporating different influences, that hasn't really changed. I think that'll always be in the spirit of the band. Is nothing is really, you know, taboo or off limits. This material feels really focused, though. That being said, you know, there's some heavy tracks, some tracks that barely touch on the heavy side of what we do, but it feels focused to music. We took a while to craft the arrangements and really to really dig in and make sure that there's no fat on the record. Like every part's there because it needs to be, and if it wasn't there, the song wouldn't function the same way.
Yeah.
So that was a big focus for us, just making sure the arrangements are really tight and that the ideas are fully realized, and you know, we want to make sure that we introduce an idea and we don't just abandon it and then throw 5 more at you, you know. So I think we focused a lot on making sure the songwriting was succinct and that it flows well.
That was a large part of it. Yeah, I mean, especially, you know, I guess for me coming from the previous record, and being 19 when we put it out, you know, now I'm turning 26. It's like, it's definitely a maturity thing for sure. Like you were saying, we really, it's still the same band, still the same aspirations, same goals. You know, like everyone joined the band with that, you know, being a thing. But so it's still the same. We want to get to the same place, but no matter what, because we have different people in the band, we're gonna have a slightly different way of getting there. You know, because it's just, you know, we want everyone to have their own voice, and each member contributes just as much as the rest of us. So it's very equal. You know, so things are gonna be different, but there are gonna be similarities as well.
When you said equal, do you mean writing-wise, or just as far as overall contributions in general?
Yeah, I mean both. It's 100% like, you know, equal work putting into it, equal writing, equal opinions, and everything, you know. So it's definitely more focused. We tried to really do what the music needed. Not that we didn't do that back in the past, but I feel like with the way that Revitalize went down, it was like the band just reformed real quick, and I had kind of gotten caught up in that. So, and I had not really known the guys at the time that well, so like it was like a couple of the old guys and then myself and one other new guy, and we all just had so much that we wanted to say, like musically, you know, like we wanted to kind of just like, I guess, flex our muscles a little bit, and like, you know, it wasn't intentional to be like, oh, look what I can do. It was never that, you know. We always tried to do what was best for the music.
It was that unintentionally.
Is that, yeah, subconsciously it was that. So, but you know, we always try to focus on doing what's best for the music and not what's best for us, and that's a big thing that we've learned, just maturing over the years. Is like, you know, it could be a part that one of us loves and like it's our favorite part to play, but if the song doesn't need it, we do what's best for the music and what's best for the song. So that's really, I guess that's, I mean, there's a lot we can say about the new stuff, but
There was, to me, when I was first a fan of the band before I joined, and the thing to me was there was a certain sense of adventure with Revitalized that I really gravitate to, and I think that's something that is important to us, that remains as part of the sound of the band.
Yeah.
So even though we cut down on some things and try to make things flow a certain way, there's always going to be that some crazy part that we're just kind of having fun with and wanting to throw in there too.
It's,
So
it's a difficult balance, you know, like you just mentioned having fun, you know, like you got to have fun with it. It's like you can't take yourself too seriously and just like lock yourself away in a room forever and be like, oh, it's not perfect yet, because it's never going to be perfect. If that's one thing this band has ever learned, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to have a different perception of perfect. It's going to change and evolve every day. And, you know, we're trying to find a good balance of maintaining a lot of the aspects of Revitalize, where it is kind of like a roller coaster ride. It is very adventurous. It is very like, you know, where are we going to go next? But also mixing that with more of a streamlined, mature, like, let's kind of, I guess the best way that I've found to say it is like taking progressive content and packaging it in a way that's accessible for a wider audience, you know, because Revitalized had that in a lot of ways, but it was more like progressive ideas and progressive ideas and progressive ideas. It was like for a lot of people, it's not really their cup of tea, and it's almost challenging for them to get into and to listen to. It's almost too much for them, you know. I want this to be something that, you know, like older adults can hear and be like, okay, I can at least like dig this and appreciate it, you know, rather than like, oh, they're just like, you know, getting off on themselves, you know.
by the way, it's cold as fuck right now. Even though we're in California and you see this beautiful sunset behind us and all that, it's quite chill here.
But it's cool. It's worth it, man. I'm digging this. I'm digging this. We can definitely.
All right, just a couple more quick things here.
Let's do all of them.
It came inside because it was getting too cold in California. What a bummer. Anyway, yeah, too dark.
Pretty grim on the whole, much like some of these tracks that you'll be hearing.
So another question I kind of like to know a little about for you guys is your musical backgrounds. I'm pretty sure you studied jazz guitar, and I've seen some of your videos. You've done just a lot of different kinds of things on guitar. What can you say about your background?
Oof, I always love this question because I never know. I still haven't figured out how to answer it. I mean, it's been like 18 years that I've been playing, so it's kind of hard to sum that up. But I grew up playing the blues and rock and like classic rock and stuff, and then got into metal and stuff, and then I eventually just kind of gravitated towards jazz, and I ended up, long story short, getting my degree in jazz from a small conservatory in New York. And I was always kind of, even when I was there, I was like, I was never just a jazz guy. Like I don't consider myself a jazz guitarist, even though I have like a degree in jazz, because I was always trying to check out as many other styles as possible. So I'm kind of like I guess everyone calls me like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal, you know? So I never consider myself a jazz guitarist, because there are dudes who devote their lives to jazz, and like, you know, they would smoke my ass, and I'm just like, you know. So what I do is I just love so many different kinds of music, and if I enjoy it, I want to check it out, I want to investigate it, I want to like, you know, figure out how to make those sounds myself, whether it's country or blues or hip hop or EDM or whatever. Like if I dig it, I check it out. So yeah, I mean, I guess everyone, or not everyone, but I'm like most well known for the fusing the jazz thing, I guess. But I try to just be. I didn't go to school for jazz to be a jazz guitarist. I went to school for jazz to be a better musician. You know, just an overall musician. So that's kind of how I treat it all. I don't just like, you know, discriminate. I try to check out a little bit of everything if I can, and yeah, just try to check it all out. You know.
Yeah, it's a pretty similar philosophy in general to most of us, in a sense of gravity as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good like mindset to have. I mean, like, why would you close yourself off to these possible, you know, all these possibilities? I mean, I learned some of the best things that I've learned about other genres were from genres that were polar opposites. You know, like I learned a lot about metal, and I write metal better because I've studied jazz, and vice versa. You know, I play jazz a certain way because I play metal too, and Even country stuff too. I've gotten into country stuff. I'm about to release a lesson doing a country line, which I'm not a country guitar player, like, you know. So I just try to check it all out. If I enjoy it, then that's the bottom line. If I enjoy it, then I want to check it out, and I want to learn how to make those sounds, you know. And it just makes me a better musician.
So how about you, Ivan? Obviously, you have a lot of influences as a guitarist, and being with Guitar Messenger, of course, you probably become familiar with even more guitar playing than you would have just from being a fan of guitar players. So maybe you can talk about your
Well, on the Guitar Messenger thing, the interesting thing there for me was, as you know, anything that goes up on the site, I have to look into it, make sure we're saying correct information, and then between that and transcribing all the material there's things that you learn from that you might not have paid attention to otherwise, and those details definitely have helped me kind of shape what I do as a guitar player as well. But as far as overall influences, like Mark, I also started out with rock and blues. I still love blues. I gig through South Florida with a blues band, so that's always a big part of my vocabulary and like just how I approach the guitar. As I got a little bit older, late teens and then 20s when I was in school, I also got into some jazz. I did a little bit. I was more on the fusion side. I was like the in between stuff. That's like what really caught my ear always. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'm in a progressive metal bands, because all those different things have an opportunity to come together.
And the way he got the band too, I think is interesting too, because I'll never forget it, because like I was saying that, you know, we both kind of came from like a blues background, and we were searching for a guitarist, and two of our friends in New York were like, "Yo, we know this guy in Boston. His name is Ivan, and you know, check out his video. He's sick. Like, he'd be perfect for you guys." And they put on a video, and I'm like, I've seen this guy before, because I'd seen Guitar Messenger, like he had just kind of like recognized his face, and he played like two notes, and I was just like, holy shit, I've immediately just felt like I finally met someone who came from the same background that I did. Like, we just had that connection, and like I knew that, like, you know, he listened to the same guys that I did, and like, you know, we have our differences for sure, but like we have so many similarities, and I think that's like when I heard him, like I was just like, all right, shit, call him now. That's it. Like it was so cool to finally hear someone, especially in a metal band, you know, because you don't really find that kind of stuff. This feeling and emotion, like that's what caught me first, because that's what really, you know, that's what always got me. And especially growing up playing the blues, it's all about like feeling and stuff. And you know, you can play a million notes per second, but if it doesn't make you feel anything, then to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, what's the point? You know. So yeah, that was just a funny side note, but that's how we got in the band. And so we have our similarities, and we also kind of fill in each other's gaps, I think, in a lot of ways. You know, like we finish each other's sentences, but he does stuff that I don't do, and you know, I do things that he just, you know, it's just completely different. So like we kind of balance each other out.
So sounds like you guys have some exciting news here pretty soon. Maybe you can tell us what's next for you.
Totally. Well, the biggest thing is we have a full-length record coming out, and we're going to the studio with Jamie King. It's going to be the month of March. We're all going to North Carolina to the studio, and we'll be tracking the record. I think it's like five or six tracks, and they're all pretty lengthy.
I don't even know if we should say tracks, because we should probably just say a time length, because it's like, I think we're doing 45 minutes, roughly something like that. It's a full-length record. I don't want to say tracks, because we're doing interludes in between and stuff, and some of the tracks might be 12 minutes, some of them might be 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. So it doesn't really. Yeah. That's another thing too that we've worked on in terms of difference in material. They're not all long songs anymore. You know, some of them are shorter, some of them are just what the music needs to be. So, yeah. So sorry to cut you off, but.
No. So, yeah, it's got a full-length record. We're starting an Indiegogo for it, and probably by the time this interview comes out, it'll be up already. So, yeah, we got some fun perks. You guys should check it out. If you're into our music, it'll be a great way for you to get involved and be a direct part of the record. You know, we can't do this without you, and this is an opportunity for us to make it all happen together. So yeah, that's the plan, and we're trying to start gigging and touring. We just had our first show back that we talked about earlier, and we're trying to line up some tours starting this summer.
Excellent. Well, one final, very important question: how do you like your eggs?
Sunny side up.
God, I wasn't prepared for this. Depends on the day. Let's go with over easy.
Sweet. Thanks.
With a side of bacon.
Make that well done bacon too. Yes. That shit better not be moving. All right.